Welcome to the Hollywood Outsider, an award-winning weekly entertainment podcast. In this episode, we'll be discussing movie and TV news. We're going to play a little movie innuendo with Tom Cruise movies at the end. Reviews of The Watcher and Men, and our main topic this week is the era of the movie star officially dead. Let's get on with the show. My name is Aaron Peterson. Joining me today are my fellow host, John Davenport.
Hey, buddy. How you doing today?
Swell. Troy Heinritz.
I feel the need to not talk about Tom Cruise today.
Too late. That's all you're going to hear about for the next week, probably, at least, right?
Where's the eject? Punch me out, Goose.
Poor guy. The only bad thing about that whole movie is that Miles Teller got a job. That's just disappointing. Stop trying to make him happen. He's not fetch. If you didn't notice, Amanda Sink will not be here this week because I don't know. I don't know. I don't know anymore. I stopped taking her excuses.
When are you going to stop taking her calls?
Pretty soon. She's had a lot of personal stuff going on, so there you go. She'll be back when she's back. That's the way that I understand I'm supposed to accept it.
If you miss her, you can write her at Amanda@thehollywoodoutsider.com and show her all the love and support you can.
Mm-hmm.
She actually checks that email.
Yeah. And just note, we'll probably mock her throughout this episode just because. I mean, I figure if you don't show up, that's how you get it.
John understands. He got it last week.
Yeah.
Did I get it last week? I don't actually listen to the show.
You got in trouble last week and because you don't listen, so you didn't know, but
what'd I get in trouble for?
Because you used some saucy language that probably wasn't well received in the episode prior, the Annoying Tropes episode.
I did what?
You did. Yeah, you did.
That doesn't sound like me.
It sounds exactly like you, but
No,
he
used some saucy language.
But here's my question. I want to get this out of the way.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Do you believe in the way that the saucy language might have been received, or was it just a poor choice of words?
I think I answered this on Twitter, didn't I?
I don't think Twitter counts as a podcast. So I'm asking you right here. I'm putting you right on the spot.
Whatever word I was using that was taken inappropriately, my answer is going to be this. In my own head, I probably use it as the opposite of, oh man, what's that word?
A slur?
A slur, yes.
Okay. Do you guys want to know what the word is?
It's slutty.
How is slutty not a slur in any connotation?
I don't know. I mean, aren't.
Well, all right. Jesus.
Did you see that shovel? I saw that shovel, Aaron. That shovel just went right by here.
Yeah. You guys probably won't be hearing that, but we're going to move on. Jesus. There's a hole.
Deep in here? It feels deep. I don't know.
It feels like John just found a hole and he decided to dig right on in.
Oh, I'm just like, how far to China can I get in this?
Yeah, you're halfway there. Oh, jeez.
Me love you long time.
Anything else exciting happen with anyone else? I just got back from a backpacking trip with Scott Clark, from former host of the Hollywood Outsider. First time he's ever gone backpacking.
He went man-packing with you?
He did. Let's not call it man-packing, unless you want to. It's a free world. Yeah, no, he'd never been before. He wanted to go, and he did pretty well. For somebody who's addicted to technology, he went a day and a half without having access to any because there's no signal, there's no data up there, there's no text, there's no anything, and he did very well. I was very impressed.
You were gone for like a whole weekend. How is it only a day and a half?
It takes like 2 days of drive there.
Yeah, it takes about 6 hours to get there. It was 2 days, 2 nights.
I was just wondering if like the first day and a half, it was the sweats and then the jittering and the...
He didn't do that, but I felt... I mean, and I feel like most of us feel that now when you don't use your phone for a long period of time. You get a little antsy. And then once he got signal back, boy, it was eyes buried. Back to it. It's a very important things going down. But he enjoyed it. Backpacking is a fun, relaxing time. I don't recommend it for everybody, but if you enjoy a little exercise and a little quiet time, it's good times. Other news, Troy decides to bike, I think. 60 miles, is that what I read? Right?
Oh, 60 on Saturday and 30 on Sunday. And 40 of those miles were in the pouring rain. It was glorious.
Why? That feels dangerous.
We don't go fast when it's raining because it's dangerous.
Well, if you're on the
train
roads,
tracks also when it's dangerous.
Isn't some old person like gonna, nail you in the rain?
We don't ride in the street with the cars. We ride on trails and stuff.
Oh, that sounds like cheating.
You know, now, if I was Aaron, though, I mean, there would be a chance that lightning would strike the tree, fall in the path, and then my bike would trip over the log.
That is my luck, man. It really is my luck. I have no good luck when it comes to anything, really. Sad. Let's go into it. How depressing do you want to get today? You know what? Let's get happy news. Daredevil is officially returning as a Disney Plus series.
Was that happy news?
Is that happy news? That's what I want to know, because I feel like they ended well. I don't know why we need to go back to that well. I did well 2 different ways there, if you go rewind.
So this is the original cast from the original Netflix show.
And they're
coming
bringing it back. And you know it's not going to be as gritty as the Netflix version was. Even though they added that MA selection to Disney Plus, it's not going to be as gritty. I don't think.
Which they even got in trouble for with the MA selection.
What do you mean?
Oh, you didn't see this.
I probably didn't care, honestly.
There was a band of parents that got all up in arms because their kids started watching. Huh?
So 6 of them? There's like 6 kids?
Probably. It was big enough to, like, you know, make some waves. This is just me being annoyed at stupid parents, but they were pissed off at Netflix, not Netflix, but Disney Plus for having Jessica Jones and Luke Cage on there. And they were like, there's no warning. There's no this. My kids can just open it up. It's no big deal. And it's like, there's a whole thing where you can put PIN numbers in your account. You can block things on your kids' accounts. Like, ugh.
So you're telling me a bunch of people complain on the internet about their bad parenting skills? I'm shocked.
Such as it is. I mean, we talked about TV movie ratings last week. I think it's a great topic, by the way. If you didn't listen to last week's episode, it was a great episode. We had a really great conversation. But I don't know if this is a thing to get excited about. I feel like people just don't want to let anything go anymore. I mean, I definitely.
It's the number one thing, right? It's IP that already exists. It's easier to make content of something that's already there than to try to make something brand new.
But people are losing their minds. And what cracks me up is that people are ecstatic about this. And I'm just speaking in my groups, right? I can't speak for everybody on the internet. I'm speaking for the people that I've seen in my groups that are excited about this are the same people that keep complaining that Hollywood isn't doing anything original, which is not true. There's a lot of original content out there. You're just not finding it or going to it. Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. Most original thing I've seen in forever. Go watch it. But they're the same groups. And I'm just like, you want something new, but you're going to keep getting excited over the old stuff. I mean, you can't have it both ways. You really can't.
It's because of the 2 syllables that are in the front of that movie.
Disney?
Marvel.
Oh, Marvel. I guess that makes sense. I want Punisher to come back. Like, I'm not going to hide it. I do want Punisher to come back because I'm not complaining about all the remakes and sequels because I like a lot of them. On the same token, there's a lot of them. But that's one that I really want to come back. I want Punisher to come back.
Then we should all watch Daredevil to support it, and then that would fund Punisher.
Okay, you're winning me on this because I had no interest until you said that.
I'm just... If these reboots are going to work, they have to reboot one, and if it works, then they'll reboot the other ones. It's the Disney model.
You sold me. I'm in because I want Bernthal back. I did not love Daredevil. I didn't dislike it. I was indifferent, I think is the term. But I wasn't crushed when it went away. You know, Luke Cage I thought was good, cast well. I just feel like they just didn't know where to go with it. Iron Fist was not cast well, and they didn't know where to go with it. Although I do think second season kind of was starting to pick up some steam at the end.
That second season ended on such a great note. I was like, okay, that's the show I want to watch, which is a very, like, you know, Danny and what was Ward, Danny and Ward traveling the world being stupid. That's the movie I want. That's the show I want to watch.
I honestly want to watch Tom Pelphrey and whatever he wants to do. I find him to be just a fantastic actor that is not getting his due because he's a quality actor. And so far, I only see him in supporting roles, and I'm just like, why doesn't he have a leading role in anything yet? He should. He's fantastic. But Jessica Jones, the first season's great, and then it kind of went downhill. I know it's not popular to say, but it fell apart as far as I'm concerned. So I don't really need any more of that. Maybe Disney could use some magic and bring all these characters back and kind of revitalize them. Mike Coulter's got Evil going, though. He's probably making a lot more money with Evil. Yeah,
but Luke Cage is probably a passion project for him, so he'll probably do that anytime he gets asked for it.
How do you know? You speaking for him?
Yeah, speaking for him.
Are you his representation? You're his agent now?
I am his representation.
Okay. I didn't know you got another side hustle. Good for you.
You're sitting there saying that he wouldn't do it because he's got Evil.
I'm just saying Evil's 22. I don't know if it's 22. It's on Paramount Plus, but I mean, it's pretty good money when you're on a network. It's better money than it is typically on a cable streamer.
Is he on
Cable or
Paramount
streamer.
Plus or is he on CBS?
They moved Evil to Paramount Plus.
So he got a downgrade in pay.
No, I don't think he lost his pay. And reviews have gone up because I know a lot of people that were watching Evil and they liked the episode here, episode there, but they said the second season was phenomenal. Maybe give him some credit. Give him a chance.
Well, I'll go ask a lot of people and find out what they have to say about it.
Maybe you should know better people. That's all I'm saying.
Maybe I should.
God damn it. Why don't you
Aaron
just
can't
go?
watch it though because the Paramount Plus app doesn't work for him.
It is the worst app, man.
It really is the worst
It's
app.
the worst app. But whenever you say that, there's three people. One of them being Troy, who's like, it works fine on my Apple device. Oh, well, then it must be just me. And the other 45 people I see seem to have in my circles that complain about it. It's awful.
No, it's really the worst app. That's like one of the few times where if I go to pull up Paramount Plus, I just go to my sister's Plex server instead because I'm sure she downloaded it.
I love their content. That's what sucks. I absolutely love their content. Strange New Worlds is great. I actually got me back into a Star Trek show for the first time forever because Picard was boring the hell out of me. But Strange New World, man, handsome out. But it's just the app. Be better. Now I will say when I access that on my Fire Stick, Troy, it works much better than on my TV. So natively on Samsung and other TVs, I think that's where the problems are. Because when you get to like Fire Stick and Apple devices, it seems to work just fine. But
yeah, I have no problem watching Survivor live, football live. I have all my list, like all my Star Treks and all my other stuff that I want to watch. I put it into my list. My list shows up at the top. The minute the new episode shows up, boom, it's in my list. I click one button. I never scroll in the app at all. I go to two clicks and hit go, and it goes every time.
Oh, so it's not that the app works great for you. It's that you've gerrymandered the app in a way to work for you.
I use the resources and features that the app provides me to make my experience the best experience possible.
God, you are in HR, aren't you? Look at you. Jesus.
I also have a parental code on my Disney Plus account that I just had to type in to confirm that if they can make new seasons of Daredevil and these other Marvel shows, then they better damn well make Alias another season because Alias is now on Disney Plus. Everybody,
I feel like
just FYI.
we got a proper ending.
So is Sydney now considered a Disney princess?
Oh my gosh,
John, you are my new hero.
She should be.
You're
right?
welcome.
Yeah, Jennifer Garner should be. Holy shit! Somebody call her. She's a Disney princess now.
She's
I think
a Disney
that's right.
princess.
Yeah.
I just have to say that I'm done with the show tonight. I'll see you all later because I'm not going to be able to contribute anything better than that. Bye.
I don't know if you saved the world here, but I think you opened some doors, and I like that.
The sad part is I can't steal that from John. Put it as my status
Sure
on
you can.
the internet because I'm on an
Sure you
internet
can.
blackout.
It's not like I've been paying attention to Facebook.
You're on an internet blackout.
I'm on an internet blackout because the final episode of This Is Us is airing as we record this episode.
Oh, so you don't want to be spoiled.
I don't want to be spoiled.
I think, don't they all die in an explosion? That's what I heard.
Yeah.
Like, aren't they all like doing the chicken dance or something? And
Are they all ghosts?
Yeah, they were all dead to begin with at the end of the plane crash.
I knew it. All right. Well, speaking of Disney, we're talking about Disney. Marvel has signed a 20-year deal with Stanley Universe to use the likeness of Stanley in future feature films and TV shows, as well as Disney theme parks experiences. I could take that however you want. Maybe it means a sex shop. I don't know. And merchandising. So essentially, a deceased artist will remain alive, not only in our hearts, but in products. There are already talks in place with other talents about beyond the grave rights to likenesses, meaning when they die, there's still somebody owns the rights to their likeness. What do we think about keeping dead artists alive? John, I go to you. You're an artist.
I am of two different minds on this. It's both creepy and also endearing to the world of an artist because, you know, in a lot of ways, artists go through just all sorts of crazy trials and tribulations to get to the point of any sort of recognition. You know, a lot of them are even dead long before they get recognition in any way, shape, or form. Anyway, so. I think this is nice in the case of Stan Lee because he's someone who's not just an artist, but he turned himself into an icon for people to dream, people to imagine big things, to go into a whole new world, that sort of thing. And he never walked away from his own personal iconic branding. Now, if you're going to sit there and say like, when Ryan Reynolds passes, there's going to be a likeness of him still running around doing stuff like, I don't know, Deadpool, which actually that kind of works. I just talked myself into that.
Didn't think long. Literally, no one else has spoken. You're talking yourself into things. Okay.
Right. But, anybody else, Hugh Jackman, when he passes, just let him pass. Let there be a different Hugh Jackman that comes up and takes that Clark Gable, Fred Astaire role that Hugh Jackman kind of encompasses. Let there be room for new things when people leave this planet.
Spoiler alert for later, Hugh Jackman is a movie star and a global icon, and he can live forever as far as I'm concerned. But in regards to Stan Lee, specifically.
Well, in regards to artists specifically, like just as a whole, but you can go with Stan Lee. It's fine.
I was going to make the argument that if Bach, Beethoven, Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, all of these people are still alive today in their art form, then why would it be any different for audio or visual medium like television and movies and podcasts, etc.? Why can't that all happen as well? It's art. So if we can do it for one form of art medium, why not all art mediums?
Well, those first ones you mentioned, nobody shoved a fist up their ass and puppeted them around. That's kind of weird.
That's the difference. Literally, Beethoven, he wrote it's his music. Amadeus, Mozart, whatever. That's their music. To me, you're basically taking the visual representation of someone and you're going to stick them in things that they aren't conscious of because they've been dead for a while. Like if you Tom Hanks sells his likeness rights and then somebody's running around dressed like Tom Hanks or putting a CGI Forrest Gump in something, that's kind of creepy to me. And I don't know where the line is. And I don't pretend to say that I know where the line should be. I just know my brain is going to see Stan Lee if he pops up in a cameo, for instance, in a future Marvel film, which I'm sure they're going to do. That's why they licensed this 20-year thing. My brain is going to go, he's dead. That's weird. When they could be using Deadpool or something. I think that would be even funnier. Or use other Marvel characters or use someone else at Disney. Use Bob Iger. My God, he helped build this whole Marvel Cinematic Universe. Give him a freaking cameo. Something like that. I just feel like it's off-putting, although I think it's well-intentioned, but I also, it's Disney, so I don't know.
But as long as it's inside of a Marvel property, Marvel is Stan Lee. I mean, the two are synonymous with each other. If you stuck Stan Lee in an Indiana Jones movie, no, that would be weird.
So do you want George Lucas popping up in Star Wars films long after he's dead?
Well, no, because George Lucas was never in the film to begin with.
I don't want George Lucas popping up in there while he's alive.
It's just harsh, man.
I mean, as long as it's in context, I think it's fine. Yes, Carrie Fisher, end of whatever that was, Rogue One, a little weird in the way of the execution, but the technology just wasn't ready for it yet. I mean,
sure.
The younger Mark Hamill at the end of Mandalorian, technology was better, not great, but better. So you just have to find the right places where you can do that, where the camera's far enough back and it's literally a cameo, like 5 seconds or less, that it's not just on screen for too long. Because the minute it's on screen too long, like Paul Walker smiling in the car, like that's creepy.
Oh yeah, angelic Paul Walker.
Yeah.
Like the whole thing with Mark Hamill, younging him down is a little aggravating because all you have to do is throw a blonde wig that looks like Mark Hamill's hair on Sebastian Stan and boom, you're done.
Maybe Sebastian Stan wasn't available for the shoot.
Maybe.
He's talked about it. He's joked about it. Although I do think I agree with Troy, the technology is getting there. And the same, the deep fake technologies where I think we've talked about this just recently. It's still a little jarring to me. You know what I mean? It's still a little jarring. A little bit.
Well, yeah, especially if it's used for nefarious reasons in the deep
I don't think the Mandalorian or Boba Fett is a nefarious reason. I mean, they own Star Wars. They're making a Star Wars character pop up. It just, I don't know. If Mark Hamill was dead, would that creep you out?
No, because it fits the timeline, so it fits the story. So I would expect from a story perspective the character to be there.
In your brain, he wasn't there. So
I also know that Mark Hamill today isn't 26 years old like he was at the end of Mandalorian.
He's timeless, thank you. And I don't appreciate that kind of negativity.
I'm just saying. Whether they're dead or not shouldn't be the thing that determines whether or not they're in the property. The property,
I'm just saying the story calls
for the property, then it should be in the story. If it works in the timeline, it makes sense. Like Carrie Fisher being in Rogue One at the end makes sense from a story perspective. The technology made it creepy, but from a story perspective, it made sense.
It really did. Sorry, John, you keep trying to say something. What are you trying to say?
No, it's okay. As far as like they could have, I appreciate the fact that they actually used her face because at the time it was like her loss was pretty fresh at that time, I believe. And so I sort of appreciate it because it was a nice little send off, which then got kind of tainted when they did it again in.
No, I don't think she was dead in Rogue One. No, she was still alive.
I don't know how time works.
I'm pretty sure she was. I don't have a fact checker handy, but I'm sure Troy's got his magic fingertips.
It was really close. I can't remember one way or the other.
Yeah, but I'm pretty
the point
sure
is that she didn't look like Carrie Fisher from Star Wars 1977.
Well, Peter Cushing which is what they needed to do. Peter Cushing either.
He looked better though.
He looked better as a robot.
He did. I mean, his rendition looked better than Carrie Fisher's did.
Oh, that's what you mean. Okay.
Yeah. Jeez,
man. He looked better than he did when he was alive.
Well,
I gotta say, I've used those little deep fake apps on my phone, and I've made a couple of great deep fakes with them. And one of them was me as Captain America. And you know what? You barely notice a difference between me and Chris Evans if you put if I drop even more weight and put on a bunch of muscle. It works. And then I did the same thing with putting my face on Jason Momoa in Aquaman. And I actually look better than Jason Momoa does if I beefed up.
Sure. Yeah. That's a cute way to look at it.
The deepfake is for your face, though, not for the rest of your body, John, just to make sure we're clear.
Well, I still took off all my clothes to make sure I got the scan in right.
TMI.
That's a perfect segue.
Go in your hole.
To move on, because I'm grossed out.
Go in your hole. The hole's your home.
Speaking of a hole, TikTok, because once you fall down it, you never come out, is now gathering a lot more eyeballs than ever. And their overhead is so much less than a Netflix or a Disney. And I know people are like, why are we talking about TikTok? Well, just hang tight. TikTok has doubled its revenue every single year, and last year brought in $4.6 billion, according to the Wall Street Journal. And its parent company, ByteDance, brought in $58 billion. Which they also run other video streaming and social sites. And $58 billion is more than Netflix's $30 billion. So I guess my question is, are we heading toward a new world, or at least a portion of a new world, where the creators are no longer in Hollywood, but Joe Average on their couch? And I should point out that there are TikTokers making more than movie stars now, or quote unquote, our topic this week, people that claim to be movie stars.
Spoiler alert for later. I think it all depends. There's definitely, I remember as we were moving into this podcasting craze, right? 2005, 2009, and they started doing video short shows, things like Revolution 3, I think was one of the networks, or even stuff like This Week in Tech, Leo Laporte's network. There's a lot of good content coming out of non-Hollywood based people that just need to tell good stories. And I think what you see a lot of times now, too, is the podcasters are coming up with really great stories. And then the corporate networks are buying those podcasts and turning them into actual television things.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like...
Hashtag, we're for sale. Okay, yeah. Continue.
It's not so much about the content that I think is going to be the interesting thing. It's about the services themselves. So I think now that we're in the streaming era, and you have to be able to monetize the data and the collection of the things that you're using, right? So when we talk about like Netflix putting in the ad tier eventually, like that's the kind of thing that really is what you're paying attention to here, because you're trying to figure out, okay, of all the people watching Netflix, the trillions of minutes or whatever it was that we talked about, I think it was last week, it's really trying to figure out, like, while they're doing that, are they skipping? Are they pausing? Are they switching? Are they navigating? Like, what's the average watch time of a session? Like, that's the data that people are interested in, because that's how they can measure attention eyeballs. Mm-hmm. And that's what they can sell to advertisers and say, look, this person's attention span is 3 minutes or 6 minutes or 2 seconds. And I think when you talk about TikTok coming into play, there's a lot of, this is the problem with Periscope, right? Periscope, when it first came out, was 6-second videos. That was it. 6 seconds, done. And it was literally people thinking about, like, well, how do I use 6 seconds? Like, I could teach you how to fix a toilet in 6 seconds, or I can teach you how to cook eggs in 6 seconds, right? What could you do in 6 seconds? and it just makes the content be a little bit different from its presentation. And so now with TikTok not having that 6-second limit, and you can go long form, short form, people are reporting the news from like on the ground. Like I remembered watching most of January 6th happen in the States from TikTok, not from CNN, not from the Washington Post, not from any of the other major. I watched TikTok because it was like, and here's the latest update, and here's the latest update. And here's
That's where we saw the Oscar slap. We saw that on TikTok because it wasn't released in the States.
So I think that it's an interesting concept. I think all social networks definitely have their time in the sun, right? People are rebelling against Meta, which owns Facebook and Instagram. I think people are rebelling against Snapchat occasionally, trying to make your own social network, Trump, right? For his red state people. So I think every social network has its place. I think every social network has its time. But I think what's really interesting about this is how much content and attention you can get for as little money as ByteDance and TikTok are putting out. That's really the big thing, because the share of the pie, it's like $200 million or something for the creator budget for TikTok to pay its creators that are in that paid creator program versus like some hundreds of millions of dollars that Netflix puts into its content.
17 billion. 17 billion is what Netflix spends every year on
there
content.
You go. It's even more than hundreds of millions.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. Like why do we spend this much money on content? You can make good content without having to spend that much money.
Plus, what I do like about it, and what I'm sure Hollywood hates about it, is it's kind of like these are the indie creators, right? This is what the indie movement, and you speak to podcasters. We were one of the first in terms of podcasts that launched for movie or TV coverage in this kind of way, and now everybody's got one. Every celebrity's got one. Now it's blown up and it's become this big thing. And I wonder how long it'll be before you get Hollywood celebrities that jump on the TikTok. And I know some of them are already doing it, but I feel like you're getting closer to where they're going to have to do TikTok in order to keep selling their brand, in order to stay relevant, stay competitive, to stay in the limelight. And you're going to see a lot more TikTok stars coming to Hollywood. You're already seeing a couple of them here and there because, you've got little white guys running Hollywood, so it takes them a while to notice. But once they notice, man, they're going to start bringing them over, and you're going to start seeing those are going to be, quote unquote, our new celebrities. So I think there's a lot more to this than people want to acknowledge. And, just shows once again that China's winning. Yeah, because what was it? Netflix was a $300 billion company valuation, and it's just been tanking for a while now. And ByteDance is like $360 billion in valuation. So ByteDance is bigger than Netflix. John, as an independent artist, any thoughts on this? Are you excited about this potential explosion of indie creators? I guess not potential; it's happening.
Well, this is one of those things that puts me at odds again, because on the one hand, I appreciate anything that will help any sort of creator get their visions out into the world and find their audience. Everyone has the right to do that. Before the internet, before travel, before all these things, all you had to work with was the people that were around you to be able to become your quote unquote patrons and to help fuel your creativity, or at least sponsor your creativity and give you the opportunity to create more. Where this is a beautiful thing in the sense of people who find their creative outlet, decide to go all in on that experience, and they're able to build something that is able to sustain them. That's amazing. That's great. The parts that I have an issue with is that there's a lot of people who are becoming internet famous. Let's just use it that way. And all they care about is the fame. All they care about is the money. They're not doing it for anything other than getting eyes on them and then finding some ridiculous action or something that's dangerous to put them in front of people and to propel their name. And that's what scares me about it, because there's no soul to that. There's no anima to it. So it's very much something that I feel like we should try to reward those who honestly have a creative sense to them to one degree or another, whether it's singing, acting, making stand-up comic art, or actual watching an artist actually do artwork through TikTok. All those things I think are great, but when you're looking at people who are just famous for the sake of being famous, it's dangerous. It can. We're devolving in terms of what we respond to.
right? And that's the culture. Because I mean, most of what unless there's a whole bunch of stuff I haven't seen, which is very possible. I don't sit and look at TikTok videos all day, but I know a lot of people that do. It's mostly just for laughs, right? It's just for stupid hijinks, pranks, riffs on things. People kind of pulling from basically SNL skits brought down to about minute and a half, right? Essentially, that's what most TikTok videos I've seen are. They're just skits that aren't well written, they aren't well acted, and they aren't well shot, but they're funny because, it's done in a minute and a half and you're out. Hit it and quit it, that mentality. So I do see what you're saying. It's like a devolving of the art itself by making the art available to anyone who wants to be an artist. But you're right. But I would make the same case for a lot of actors. A lot of actors are very vapid and they just want to be famous. It isn't so much about, I want to be an actor, I want to present. I don't think it's as much about that right now. I think it's more about pretty people want to be famous. A lot of it. I'm not saying all of it, just a big chunk. So I would say it's represented in the Hollywood culture as well as the TikTok culture. Is there a TikTok culture? I assume there is.
I would agree with you. However, there's a lot more gatekeepers in Hollywood culture.
Sure. There's no one really regulating it but on the same token, I'm okay with that because why do they get to pick and choose? If some kid can figure out a way to make a ton of people laugh and make like 30 videos that become ultra famous and gets millions in popularity and everything off of that, isn't that something to be admired in a way? Because they did that on their terms. They did it on their own. They didn't have to get permission from some Hollywood agent to be in their film because maybe they've been met with a lot of rejection because they're auditioning and they don't think they're good enough or whatever. So they go off and do their own thing. They become more famous than they would have been as an actor. I don't want to discount that and discredit that as not being an art form. I think that's also an art form. It's just, it's a different kind. It's evolving. And while some of the content might be devolving, I think the art form is evolving.
I think you're missing the point, Aaron. I'm the fame police.
Yeah, I understand. Pull over. All right. Well, with that, we can move on. Remember, you can always find more information at thehollywoodoutsiders.com. Join our Facebook group, or we're on Twitter at @BuyPopcorn. You can share thoughts on this episode or anything else. If you have any suggestions on a future topic, you can email us feedback@thehollywoodoutsiders.com. And I want to tell you before we move on about Torn Hearts. Torn Hearts, starring Katie Seagal, which we love her, is now available on digital and on demand. It's a horrifying tale set in Nashville's country music scene. Two rising artists' visit to their idol's mansion turns into a twisted series of mental and physical torment. Buy or rent Torn Hearts and watch it today. It's unrated from Paramount Pictures. And once again, it's Katie Seagal. We've loved her in so many things. On and on and on. She's a talent that often doesn't get appreciated as much as she should. So be sure to support Torn Hearts. Go check that one out. Now, I've got two spoiler-free reviews. The first one is The Watcher, which Amanda did join me for to help review that one. And it's going to be in theaters June 3rd and on video on demand June 21st. So here is our review of The Watcher with the absentee ballot, Amanda Sink.
All right. Now, Aaron saw a film called Watcher, and it is about a young woman who moves into a new apartment and is tormented by the feeling that she is being watched. That sounds like my worst nightmare. I have also been there. Does this do anything new or unique?
This movie is the definition of slow burn. So if you do not like slow burns, do not watch Watcher. Because it is very
Good to
much.
know.
Yeah. Maika Monroe is this woman who basically her husband, her new life, she has moved to Romania. He's got a new job and she's basically, obviously there's a language barrier. There is, she has a lack of friends. So the whole idea of the film is isolating her, right? She's very isolated. She is not exposed to a lot of people because she doesn't know a lot of people. She can't speak the language. And she starts to feel like a neighbor across the way is watching her. And as the film goes, you're really seeing it from Maika Monroe's point of view the entire time. You're kind of seeing what she sees, and when she's walking around and she thinks she's being followed and that sort of thing, like you're feeling what she's feeling. And her husband is not really believing her. People are not really believing her. And there are some crossed visuals that will kind of make you wonder about what you're seeing to a degree. And it's kind of Hitchcockian in the way that it plays out because it's just shot very, very stress inducing, and it really has a slow build to the eventual conclusion. But I think it's a very well told thriller. It's really interesting. And my tension and the hairs on my arms were going up as the film went. So it really delivered for me.
I have a question about this because I've been a young woman, and a lot of times when you try to tell somebody that you're experiencing something, this is actually like through research has been proven in the medical field that a lot of times women will go to their doctors and they're not believed about their ailments. And it's a huge concern and a huge issue, actually. And so I'm curious, it kind of sounds like there may be a little bit of that too, where people aren't believing her because she's a younger woman. Do you get that impression, or is it just like because of what she's talking about, she sounds crazy?
No, it's not so much because she's a woman, but there is very much like you're alone a lot, you're isolated, you don't know people here, so maybe you're overthinking it. There's a little of are you sure you're not the one doing the watching? There's a little of that. I'm serious. I mean, that they're playing with that kind of thought process too. So I don't think it's what you're saying. I mean, I know what you're talking about.
It doesn't play on her age really then?
No.
Okay.
It's more on her emotional state and how erratic she's kind of becoming as the film unrolls.
Sure. Okay. So if the full price of admission were $10, what are you giving Watcher?
$7. $7. The ending
Pretty
was
solid.
Like, oh yeah, the ending I was like, oh no, and probably not in the way you think. So it's a good film. It really, really slow burn. Don't watch it if you don't have the patience, because if you're one of those people like, nothing happened for 20 minutes because oh God, then don't watch this. You won't like it, but it's good. I enjoyed it. Okay, now we're back. And I also saw Men.
Was it raining when you saw it?
It was. Yep.
Well, Men is the latest installment from one
nerd.
of Aaron and my personal favorite writers and directors, Mr. Alex Garland.
Mm-hmm.
As you know, Alex did the good work in Ex Machina. He also did Annihilation with Natalie Portman. He also was a little bit of stint in television with the TV show Devs, which everyone should watch. It's super, super good. Mm-hmm. But Men is a new twist in the entire concept of what Alex Garland usually does, right? Because he always looks at something like artificial intelligence or the dangers of self-destruction or other like scientific-y subject matter. But from what I understand, Aaron, is that Men takes a little bit of a different path with this particular story.
Yeah, this is very metaphorical, which if you've ever heard me review anything metaphorical, not a fan. Not a fan typically. I love Alex Garland. I think he's a very talented, brilliant writer. And for most of the film, I was on board, even though it was pretty easy to tell what kind of story it seemed like he was telling, which is he's presenting a tale of Jessie Buckley's Harper, whose husband recently died after a fight between them, and where her husband kind of put the blame back on her, and she's going to retreat after his death and goes to an old countryside home manor, if you will, and she's besieged by various men, all of them played by Rory Kinnear, which is an odd choice because I don't know if the implication is that all men are like this, or if the implication is that she's so distraught she sees the same man in every man. They end up basically slowly kind of just they're all wicked in different ways, and it feels very much like a film that's trying to present a picture of this is the female experience, which is ironic because it's coming from a male director, but this is the female experience and how some women see men. This is how I take it. And that's the thing with metaphorical films is you can take it different ways, right? You can perceive different things. But the way that I took it was this is a woman who is getting fed up with having to take what men throw at her and instead is kind of finding her own power within her trauma. And that's what I got from it. In terms of what kind of movie that's the kind of movie that it is.
So it would sound like from that type of a movie, then camera work would be a very big thing, right? Whether you have to showcase, the men in different lights or different scenarios, but more importantly, from Harper's perspective, was there a lot of like first person camera work in this that actually drew you into Harper's perspective? There's
a lot of imagery that I don't want to go into for spoilers' sake, but there is a lot of imagery. There's a lot of horrific imagery, especially the back third, because that's when things start coming to a culmination of events of what it's built up to. There are some subtle, horrific moments. There's a scene if you've seen the trailer, where she's basically approaching a very dark tunnel, and she has a musical background, by the way, Jessie Buckley. She's great in this, by the way. She's great performance. And she starts doing musical notes into the tunnel, and then there are some twists on that I think are very, very creative and clever and pay off well in those respects. But overall, it's shot very patiently, methodically, as if every shot you're kind of keeping an eye on it to see what matters, what doesn't. And yeah, it kind of goes from there.
When you finished watching the movie, did you feel the horror genre in this fit for the story content that was being divulged? Do you feel like it should have been more on the psychological thriller, less on the horror aspect, given what Garland has done in the past?
Like I said, I don't like heavy metaphors when I feel like it's too metaphorical, as in I feel like they lose touch of what story they're actually trying to tell. And I feel like that happened here with Alex Garland. The last third, like I said, I was invested. I was with him. I understand I felt like I understood what he was trying to say. And then the last third devolves into complete Darren Aronofsky, which is a director I do not enjoy at all. So as soon as it kind of makes that turn and starts going into heavy metaphors, I mean, so heavy that there is no storytelling sense in that way. It's all, what do you interpret? It's art. It's paintball art. It's just throwing paint at that. It's that kind of art. I don't know what, John, you're an artist. I don't know what that's called, where artists take
splatter paint.
Splatter paint. There you go. That's what it felt like. It felt like just throwing it out there, and you take what you take out of it, but there's multiple interpretations, and that's fine. I don't think it comes together as a very good film. And I think it really hurt the film. That final act especially kind of hurt the film.
Did you just use Pollock as a form of how to compare this to artwork?
Thank you. It's very Pollocky.
Okay. All right. So
I don't have a black light though, so get it? Guardians get joke.
Okay,
Nobody?
so Pollock isn't what you think it is, Aaron.
Sorry.
Pollock was very deliberate with his paint choices and paint viscosity and paint placement. There's a reason why Pollock works, because there's a deliberate balance to the artwork. It may look like it's a splatter or he just whipped a paintbrush at the freaking canvas or something, but that's not how he worked at all.
Well, I'm certain Alex Garland it was very intentional, everything that he does. So it still applies. God damn, I just got right out of that hole. It still applies.
You found a way out. I'm going to give you that. And I'm going to go back into my hole. However, because I like my hole, but
I have no doubt that everything was intentional. I'm just saying how it presents as a viewer. It feels like splatter. It feels like it's all over the place, and it feels like it's not cohesive, and that hurt the film for me as a viewer. And based on the audience score, the cinema score, I'm not alone in that, because it got a D+.
All right, so to help you with your analogy that you were using,
mansplain this to me.
It's called mansplaining because I'm a man, and I'm going to explain it to you.
Okay, go for it.
So I'm in a freaking weird mood today. So what you just did is you said you just walked up to the giant Pollock painting in MoBA, and you said, I can do that shit. All it is throwing paint at a canvas, and that's what you just did to Alex Garland's.
I don't agree with that. I do not think I could do that. I think he's a genius. Honestly, I think he's a brilliant writer and director, and it's just this film does not connect with me. It didn't work for me, and I tried to explain that. I don't know, maybe you weren't listening, but as I was saying, as a viewer, for me,
I was surfing the internet a second ago, so that probably wasn't.
For me, it doesn't work.
I'm just butting in on this review because I don't care.
I understand, but that's what I feel. For me as a viewer,
I'm just gonna mute my button.
Didn't feel, and there are some horrific imagery. There's some people saying that it's just so hard to watch in spots. I didn't find that ever, so I don't know why people feel that way, but I've seen a lot of horror movies, so what do I know?
Are those spots more triggering potentially because of the subject matter, that it's what women go through and what women deal with?
Well, in some, I can't really speak to it. Not in horrendous situations like you might be thinking in different ways. So yes, but not in the ways that you probably...
Traditional triggering moments.
Yes, yeah, completely different, yeah.
Okay. I mean, like horror movies typically, though, are like hit it and quit it. They're kind of like, take it or leave it, forget it later on. Does this stick with you after you leave the movie theater, or is it just another horror trope that people will forget in a couple months?
I feel like the first 2/3 of the movie are a lot more subtle, and if it would have concluded that way, I feel like, yes, it would have stuck with me a lot. But because that last third gets so in your face and kind of a little too on the nose, it really kind of, I will forget about this tomorrow when I don't have to review it. Sadly.
But I say even Ex Machina at the end is kind of like in your face. Like you can see where it's going.
No, but that was structured. It just felt so sharp and smart and layered and intelligent. And it was really just nuanced, right? And I know he's going for something deeper here. It just, for me personally, it does not. I felt like it's just hitting the nail in a little too on the head. It's too in your face. It's too over the top. It just didn't work. So
if $10 is the full price of admission, Alex Garland's latest movie, which he actually writes movies every 4 years. His movies are 2010, 2014, 2018, and 2022. So I'm sure
that's interesting.
Being Alex Garland who he is, that's intentional. But what would you give Men in 2022?
I would give it $4 out of 10.
4?
Yeah. The first 2/3 I was really into it, and then I just, like I said, crashed and burned Maverick style. Any recent film or TV recommendations we haven't previously talked about?
I did watch a couple episodes of Conversations with Friends over on Hulu. It's a story about two ladies who are finishing up their studies. It's obviously an English show from BBC, transplanted over to Hulu. They're poets, and their content is noticed by a prolific writer who is married to her trophy husband, and the interworkings of the four of them and their relationship and how that transcends between the original two ladies who had a relationship that aren't in a relationship when the show starts. And then as one of them falls in love with her and one of them falls in love with him, and how that quad kind of manifests as the series goes along. Very interesting so far. It is a slow burn. But if you're, into that concept of, what would it look like to be polyamorous or that kind of thing, it's an interesting take, I think. I also watched a couple episodes of Candy with Jessica Biel over on Hulu.
How is that? That's on
It's
Hulu,
really
right?
good. Really, really good. Jessica Biel nails it. Like my wife even came in the room. She's like, "That's Jessica Biel." It was like, yeah, it's really, really an interesting take.
I really love that she's pushing herself as an actress lately. I mean, she's really trying harder stuff.
Really, really good. Really, really good stuff.
John, anything?
I've been watching Lincoln Lawyer, the new series on Netflix, which has been a lot of fun. It's based off the Michael Connelly books, which in the first episode, when I was watching... Well, yeah, that's what I was about to say. Yeah. Thanks for jumping on it.
That's twice he's done that this episode. I'm just letting you know.
Sorry.
So the very first episode, I sat there and I'm like, this feels like it's in the same world as Bosch. It's like lighter Bosch. And I didn't realize that Michael Connelly is also the same writer for both these series. Mm-hmm. And so I've got probably 3 episodes left in the series. I really like it as far as like a fun, engaging, light watch with a little bit of a seriousness to it. Manuel Garcia Rulfo is awesome. Nev Campbell is Nev Campbell.
I love Nev Campbell.
Becky Newton is awesome. Angus Sampson, awesome. Everybody, like the entire cast of main characters, I really enjoyed, and the relationships they build are something that I really enjoy watching. So I can't say enough good things about Bosch. The background on it is that it was supposed to be a CBS show back in 2020, but that's when COVID hit and they ended up canceling just before production started, and Netflix came in and saved the show and got it up and running. So yeah, it's pretty great.
I hear it's huge too. I mean, people are really raving about that one, so I'm glad to hear it's good.
Good. I'm really glad.
Well, I will tell you one of the best things I've seen in a long time, which is George Carlin's American Dream on HBO Max. It's a documentary on George Carlin, my opinion, greatest comedian of all time. Saw him 3 times in concert, and always, it's like a glorious memory for me. If you don't know who George Carlin is, he was a comedian who, unlike most comedians, if you go look at their comedy from when the comedy came out, it ages badly, right? Go watch Eddie Murphy in the 80s, ages poorly. Go watch really any comedian. Most of them age very, very poorly. George Carlin is so ahead of his time in so many things because he really saw where people were headed. He saw where government was headed. He saw where parties were headed, where religion was headed. I mean, he's just a very thoughtful, intelligent comedian. And this series really takes you through the ups and downs. It doesn't just paint him in this glorious picture. And it's from Judd Apatow, the comedian director, comedy director. And it really, warts and all. I mean, it really takes you through why George Carlin was so special, why he still resonates today, why his comedy still hits today, and how really just insightful he was. And if you really are a fan of his comedy, he had a masterful way of just getting to dark realities and making them funny. He would, even tackling something like climate change. I'll never forget climate change. He's like, the Earth's not going anywhere. We are. And it was just a quick, simple assertion that was very pointed in that this is the reality. We're focused on absurdity. And he was just very good about pointing that out. And especially, how broken government it is and how broken people are in general and how we focus on the wrong thing. It's a wonderful documentary for a brilliant comedic mind, in my opinion. So if you get a chance, you should watch it. George Carlin's American Dream. Now, I want to mention our Patreon supporters. Our show is independently funded, therefore all the expenses are from our own pockets. Patreon helps fans support their favorite podcasts, and once you sign up, you get immediate access to all content in your respective tier. There's a bonus episode or bonus series called Bad Movie Night. There's also a exclusive episode, depending on your tier, we're actually going to have coming out here by the end of the month. And now that you understand what it is, if you want to support the show, go to patreon.com/The Hollywood Outsider. That's patreon.com/The Hollywood Outsider. And you can sign up. And anyone that is a Patreon supporter, if they enter our giveaways, will actually get an extra entry for every dollar they spend on Patreon. And we are giving away some copies of Torn Hearts. So there you go. Bam, tied it in. Contests@thehollywoodoutsiders.com is the email. Send us an email. Contests@thehollywoodoutsiders.com. That movie I talked about briefly, if you were listening earlier, Torn Hearts with Katie Seagal, that we're giving away 5 digital codes for that. Just enter at contest@thehollywoodoutsiders.com. Just send me your name with subject line, tear out my heart, and I'll know that you're in.
Are you sure she's not Katie Siegel instead of Katie Seagal?
I'm positive. Sagal.
Okay.
Okay, let's go to our From the Outside In topic. Now I'm not positive, dick.
I imagine you sitting there like, well, Steven Seagal is Steven Seagal, but, really he was little Stevie Seagal way back in the day.
It's not Seagal. Our From the Outside In topic. Have we reached the end of the movie star era? Now, first, before we get into our topic, I got to ask, how do you define movie star? We need to agree on a definition of movie star, or at least I want to hear what you guys think as a movie star. Troy?
I mean, I think movie star is someone who's won an Oscar.
Really?
Someone who puts out a movie, pretty religiously once every 2 years or so. If they can do it every year, even better. Someone that has, you look at their box office returns for a particular actor or actress, then their box office returns are fairly high. I think those are probably some of the key components to be a quote unquote movie star.
Okay, John, how would you
in a
define
traditional sense?
I think it's actually much simpler than that. I just think it's one of those people who still maintain an air of mystery and mystique to them, who are able to draw people to go see their movies, whether it's yearly, annually, whether they've gotten Oscars or not. It's that person that has that magnetism to them that draws people to the theater, and you can't help but like them.
Yeah, I would put it as someone who's enormously successful in film, who, I don't care if you've won an Oscar or not, personally, they have a draw to them. And I agree with the mystique. If everything's out there, it's kind of hard for them to be a movie star because I just feel like it doesn't work as well. But someone who has been enormously successful for a long period of time, continues to be to this day. You can make some arguments for Tom Cruise and Will Smith and Denzel Washington, Tom Cruise, obviously. Hugh Jackman, I suppose you can make an argument for him.
You said Tom Cruise twice.
Oh, you forgot Tom Cruise.
I said Tom Cruise.
Twice.
You said it twice, so I figured I'd just throw it in one more time. So that
So much Tom Cruise.
I think you've meant Tom Hanks, who is much better than Tom Cruise.
Yes, I meant Tom Hanks. Did I say Tom? Okay.
There you go.
Well, same guy. They're about the same height, I think. I don't know. One worships Xenu and the other one does not. That's all I know.
one's 4 feet tall and the other one's like 6 foot.
Stop it.
And he worships Zoltan, to be clear.
It's Xenu, man. It's Xenu. Really?
It's Xenu.
It's Xenu.
Or is it Zoltar? Zoltan?
He's rich with thetans. I know that. And he's a delightful actor. I like his roles, but whatever. Okay, so we kind of have how movie stars are defined. Now, I would say there's an argument that many of them are no longer movie stars because Tom Hanks hasn't had really a big hit in a long time. Will Smith, outside of Bad Boys, hasn't either, which was the sequel, so I don't really count that. Denzel, I would say, is probably still a movie star because he's smart enough to where he doesn't release many films. He does it very, very sporadically. Tom Cruise still is. His movies are still making, look at the anticipations for Top Gun Maverick. I wouldn't call a Chris Evans a movie star or a Chris Hemsworth or Chris Pratt because their movies are all IP. Outside of IP, they're not really doing huge business.
Because Mission Impossible and Top Gun isn't IP?
I said Tom Cruise counts. I said Tom Hanks doesn't count.
But you said Chris Evans doesn't count because their movies are IP.
How many movies has he sold on? Like, a movie star to me means your name alone can get you into the theater. Now, Top Gun, sure, it's an IP, but if you don't have Tom Cruise in it, it's not going to sell. If you have somebody else in Captain America, it's still going to sell because Marvel's going to make it sell. That's the difference. Top Gun is about Tom Cruise.
Was Falcon and Winter Soldier really that good? I'm just saying.
Yes, it did huge business.
Okay, stop, Troy. Before you even keep,
you're just digging a hole that doesn't make any sense.
All right, so let me actually add a little bit of intensity to what Aaron's saying.
Mm-hmm.
Independence Day had Will Smith.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty great. It's probably cheesy and fun in all the great ways. The sequel to Independence Day had Bill Pullman come back and no Will Smith.
Exactly.
I rest my case.
It was also 20 years later,
but I still say he's not.
Recency is a factor.
I don't think whether the slap or no slap, I don't think he's still a popular actor. I don't know if he's still a movie star because his movies started flopping the last few years outside of Bad Boys 2 or 4, 3, whatever the hell number it was. Bad Boys for Life. Bad Boys for
and
Wife.
King Richard, apparently.
All right. So do you remember the first time? Let's start with this and then we'll get back into it.
Well, let's talk Nick Cage then. So
he's no longer a movie star.
Just because his movies aren't like making a ton of money or whatever.
He's definitely no longer a movie star. He's an actor, He's a celebrity.
Yeah, he's sullied his name by a lot of the stuff that he was
So I guess
in.
that's the difference. What's the difference between celebrity and a name that's in the top of your mind and a movie star?
He's still a celebrity.
But he's not a movie star because he doesn't sell movies. His last movie was not a hit. It was a flop. He hasn't been in a hit movie in a long time.
So the definition is the movie does not work unless the star is in the movie.
Exactly. AKA movie star.
That Meta Nick Cage movie, it was a flop?
Yeah, it was a flop.
Oh,
which is too bad.
Sucks. Was it good?
It was very good. Yeah, it was very good. You would know that if you listen to the podcast that you weren't on.
I don't have time.
Because apparently just Troy and I realized that it's like every week we do this. You and Amanda are just like, boop, doop, 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 doop. Just saying.
That's only because we have to do the other one every week too.
Just like, I guess we'll see this dick again.
What about Michelle Yeoh? Would she be a movie star now? Because she sells movies.
No,
who?
No, she doesn't. Michelle Yeoh. No, she doesn't.
Who's Michelle Yeoh?
Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. Really?
Oh, okay.
Did you just say
it.
who is? Did you seriously just say that?
I didn't see the movie. I'm in the freaking mountains of nowhere.
She's not new to the world.
It's just me, militias, and just enough teeth to fill one of the militias' heads out here. Okay.
Back to my question. Do you remember the first actor who you saw in your eyes as a movie star and what made you realize that they were? I will start. Harrison Ford was the first person I saw as a movie star because he just kept banging out hit after hit after hit. And he never I never knew too much about him. He was very enigmatic. He was very charming. And he just had that something about him that made me always want to see whatever he was in. So to me, he was the first movie star that I can remember. What about you guys?
For me, it was Jerry Lewis.
Interesting choice.
Yeah.
Why him?
Well, I know when I was growing up, I loved to laugh and I loved things that like caught my attention. And I caught a lot of Jerry Lewis stuff on television. And, for whatever reason, I just kind of enjoyed what he did. And I actually just bought the original Nutty Professor just to sit down and watch him do the Nutty Professor again, because that was one of those things that I really loved about his storytelling.
All right. Troy, what about you?
I was going to say Harrison Ford, but someone else took that one.
Well, you can, if it's the same one, then that you can still say.
Well, I mean, when we grew up, in that time frame, I mean, it was Indiana Jones, it was Star Wars. I mean, it was like Harrison Ford was everywhere.
The Fugitive. I mean, he had a long run. He had a
long run. Clear and Present Danger.
Mm-hmm.
I forget the other one. What was the other Jack Ryan movie he did? Patriot Games.
Patriot Games. Yep.
Yeah, all those. I mean, all those are great, right? Steve Martin also comes to mind. Like, he was pretty well known as we were growing up with some of his comedies, right? Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, and Roxanne, and Three Amigos. Chevy Chase would probably be in there as well at the time, because he was Fletch and Lampoons, and
God, I love Fletch.
Michael Douglas was probably in that category as well.
Can I borrow your towel? My water just hit, can I borrow your towel? My car just hit a water buffalo. Yeah. What? Sorry. I mean,
Michael Douglas was probably another one in that same
realm.
Yeah,
definitely. Yep.
Yeah.
So many people have said that Tom Cruise is the last true movie star. And I think why people think that is because he is still very enigmatic. He could do 1,000 people press tour and you don't know anything more about Tom Cruise. He's very, very much a secret. But I would say, Ryan Reynolds, The Rock, Sandra Bullock, they still routinely bring out an audience. I feel like people just know them a little better. So do you believe that Tom Cruise is the last of the true movie stars? Do you feel like this era of the movie star is over? Do you feel like it's still ongoing but very diminished? Where do you guys stand on this?
I mean, I don't know. Like I consider Sandra Bullock a movie star. Like, the minute you say Sandra Bullock, I'm like, boom, I'm there. I'm watching the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even if it looks, okay at best, you're like, it's got Sandra Bullock on it. It's probably going to be halfway decent. So I would say Sandra Bullock would qualify. I mean, Tom Cruise, other than Top Gun coming out this weekend and Mission Impossible coming out next year, like, he hasn't done anything that was like what made him kind of the thing, right? Color of Money, Risky Business, Jerry Maguire. Like, he's not really done those small independent things. Rain Man.
Bets. He's done some safer bets last 10 years.
So I would say he's almost not a movie star anymore because he's just an IP guy. He sells the IP, but I'd like to see him do a little bit more breadth and depth again.
Interesting.
To be a movie star. Like, I would even say The Rock is a movie star because at least he has breadth and depth. He does Jungle Cruise. He does, kid movies. He does Fast and the Furious. He's all over the map. He's got range, which I never thought I would say after the Scorpion King.
Hey,
okay, be careful.
Let's go easy on the range. He's the same guy in all of those movies. You could literally plug and play them.
Right.
But you are going to see it because he's in it. So
don't disagree.
Well,
he's got infinite charisma.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Ryan Reynolds, the same thing. He kind of rejuvenated his whole career where, he was Deadpool saved his career and now he's just huge. I mean, on Netflix, he's absolutely huge.
Yeah. That's the argument right there. Ryan Reynolds is a movie star.
Sure.
So no, Tom Cruise is the last one.
I don't think Tom Cruise is the last one, and I do agree that there are a few, but I think that the idea of the movie star is waning, and part of the reason why is something we touched on much earlier in the episode is that celebrity is changing, and and talent is, or the idea of what talent is changing, and you have people who are drawing more attention to themselves than movie stars can off of social media apps. And they're making more money than movie stars can off of social media apps. So the idea of celebrity comes in as far as who the major group of people that is enjoying whatever product is being out there. And right now you're looking at millennials, Gen Z, and whatever else comes on after that, because Gen X and older don't count anymore as far as what's measuring celebrity and measuring what's a movie star. So that's why I think the idea of movie stars is really waning. Also, celebrities and movie stars can't help themselves but show their ass on TV and find the dumbest hills to die on. So they fall victim or folly to their own bed shitting ways.
I agree. I don't think the era is over, but it's almost over. I think it's over with those people once they lose their popularity. Will Smith, he kind of, obviously he took a hit with the Oscars thing. I have no doubt he'll win his way back. I mean, he just has that kind of effortless charm into audiences' hearts. And if he makes the right kind of movie, I think people love him in action flicks and whatnot. He'll probably if he goes the Tom Cruise route, I think he'll be back in people's good graces. The Rock just has this, he really has a good grasp on what makes a modern day movie star. But in terms of overall, I really think it's waning. I feel like people more and more don't need a big name, maybe a known name, but they don't need a big name to go see a movie anymore. You know, they will go see something if it appeals to them, if it's got a great story, if it's got, you know, if it's something that they love. If it's Marvel, I mean, God, they don't even, the reason they got these people on 10 movie contracts and or they were, I don't know if they're doing that anymore, because it didn't matter. It didn't matter who is actually wearing the cape because they sell the cape. Star Wars, you don't need anybody famous. It's all IP based. I don't think very many actors, where it used to be probably 20 or 30 actors could sell a movie. Now it's like 5. You know what I mean? And that's how I know that it's waning, because it's just not something that's guaranteed to get butts and seats anymore, because people have too many options and it's really hard to stand out. The Rock is really smart because he utilizes social media. He knows what he's doing and he mastered it. But there's very, very few people that have captured all facets of media like he has. Like he's an anomaly.
Ryan Reynolds.
Him and The Rock are kind of doing the same thing. It's interesting though, because I remember, I mean, you know, 15, 20 years ago, certain actors would guarantee like a movie was a hit. They wouldn't have to do much. I mean, Brad Pitt, Leonardo DiCaprio, he might still be a movie star because he doesn't have flops. You know, his movies all pretty much hit. So maybe he's in the conversation. But but back 20, 30 years ago, I mean, there were movie stars all over the place. And now it's just a bunch of people that you might know their name, but they're not really anything more than just celebrities. It's interesting how the times have changed. But speaking of Cruise, I want to mention something. I want to talk about something real quick, because Top Gun Maverick's here coming out, and Amanda's not here, so we don't have to hear about what a stuntman he is. We can actually have a conversation about the Cruise. I would say he is the longest running movie star in Hollywood, at least to this date, right? He's the only one from the 80s still making huge movies now. Can we agree on that?
Yes, I agree.
Okay. So my question is, so many people loathe him, but obviously he's also beloved because his movies still sell tickets. So do you think it's fair? Because there's a lot of actors that have a lot of weird things, a lot of weird beliefs. So, and I feel like he gets kind of a raw deal just because he's into Scientology and that's his baby. But I've never seen any other actor, or I haven't seen many other actors be as engaging, energetic, seemingly thrilled to be making movies as him. And I constantly hear praise from people that worked with him. I was just listening to Smartlist, and I'm not going to plug it. I don't want to plug another podcast, but that's a great one. And with Jason Bateman and Will Arnett and Sean Hayes, and they interviewed John Hamm. And John Hamm brings up how great, randomly, working with Tom Cruise is, because he's the first guy there and he's the last guy to leave. He cares more about that movie than anybody else in the production. And I think that is worth acknowledging, instead of constantly kind of crapping out, even though we made jokes about Thetans and Xenu and everything else. I mean, we're talking about our love for movies, and I don't know many people that love making movies as much as he does. So why do people insist on kind of hating him? Do we have any theories on this? It can't just be Scientology.
It's just Scientology.
You think so? Really?
100%.
You know, this goes back to, you got to be careful as to how much of, you know, for celebrities, you got to be careful as to how much of your ass you show in certain realms. And the whole, him going on Oprah and jumping up and down on the couch about him being in love and making this whole big show, he turned himself into a meme and turned himself into a joke. And it was poorly executed ways of him. I think at the time he was trying to combat some image from the whole Scientology thing anyways. So it was just like really crazy. He seemed really manic and was able to make himself a joke by that way. And, you know, then you have the Leah Remini stuff come out with, you know, the Searching for Scientology or whatever her show is, about pointing out whatever's wrong with Scientology. And in today's day and age, it's really hard to disassociate people from the thing that's really scary and hurting people that's out there, especially if they're someone who is out and proud about it. So you have so many different small factors that make it easy to hate him. What makes it really easy to love him is the fact that he's honestly, I think, a great actor. I just recently sat down and watched War of the Worlds again, and he's kind of a detestable shit and through the majority of that movie. And Live, Die, and Repeat, I've watched that again recently. Again, a detestable kind of prick, but he grows into something that's bigger and better than himself and selfless in a lot of ways. And seeing him make that trip is pretty great. The thing that I like about him in not so much the first two Mission Impossibles, but every Mission Impossible since, is that they make jokes about how he's like nearly a super soldier, and anytime you turn around, he's got this look on his face like, I'm gonna die right now. I'm gonna die right now. And those brief little moments that of him checking in with reality to be like, this should not work. You can see that whole process kind of happen if you're paying attention. And these are great little things that someone who's great at their craft can throw into there. So I see it both ways. I think it's my theme of the whole show. I can see things both ways.
I just would love to see more Far and Away, more Born on the 4th of July, Rain Man.
He really did stop doing all of those, didn't he? He really has
Just
the last
stopped.
decade.
Yeah, he really did.
Yeah.
Like he's a really good actor. Jerry Maguire, right? Really good actor. Like, why are you just not going there and trying to put yourself back in the Oscar conversation? Why are you just taking the easy stuff and labeling yourself as a stuntman rather than an actor?
Do you think he's scared about because he almost lost everything? I mean, all of his fame, everything else. And I'm sure Xeno almost kicked him out, if he's not number one or whatever. But do you think he's just scared that it's going to be a situation where it comes back? It goes, if he does too many things that aren't guaranteed hits, it's going to go back to the jumping on the couch time where people stopped going to his movies because they thought he was kind of a lunatic.
I mean, that says a lot more about him and his ego than it does anything else. If you don't take a chance on something that could be extraordinary, if he's so dedicated to the craft as John Hamm and everybody else is saying that he is, then put your heart and soul into something that says something, not just a, cookie cutter summer blockbuster action flick. Put your money where your mouth is. Maybe even do a movie on Scientology. Prove people wrong.
Like Battlefield
Earth. Do something in that regard, right? It
didn't work out for Travolta. On the flip side of this
I like
whole
what Troy's
equation,
saying, though. I like it. I'm sorry.
I mean, you don't. I
like
don't
what
grow
he's saying
unless you take
too.
a chance. And right now, Tom Cruise has not grown in probably 5 to 10 years. That's why he's kind of like stagnant.
Well, on the flip side of this conversation, though, it's what if the thing you're missing is that it's not that he's afraid to do the think piece or the deep piece. What if he reached a point in his life where he realized that there's only so much time left in me to be able to do the crazy stuff, the big stuff, and there's so much more time after that to be able to do the think pieces and the intense pieces and the more artistic pieces. So why don't I make the best I can of it? And first, let's all admit, for a human specimen, he's pretty much like, it's like The Rock and Tom Cruise are ridiculous as far as, specimens for humanity is what they can do with their bodies. There's no reason for, what is he, 55, 56?
60.
Is that how old is he?
Yeah, 60.
Tom Cruise is 60.
On the 4th of July, he will be 60 years old. Or the 3rd of July.
Okay, so he's 60 years old, and he can probably outrun all three of us. He can probably outbike all three of us.
Well, maybe not me.
I'm going to say, Troy, stop it, okay? You've only been biking for a year. He can probably do it in a second.
2.5.
Be like, hey, this is really easy.
Have you seen Tom Cruise without a shirt on? I don't think you really. Yeah, I think he can take you. I think he can take.
Yeah,
he's got little tiny legs. He won't be able to keep up.
He's got little tiny legs.
Hey, someone's got to play the role of Amanda this week.
Jesus.
So anyhow, my point is that he's turning 60. Are you freaking kidding me?
Yeah, 60. Yeah, he's right.
All right. Anyhow,
I had to
the
check
point,
it too while we're
point,
talking because I'm like, no way. Oh yeah, he is.
He's 60.
Yeah,
and
my
he
point
knows
still
it.
stands. Like he's turning 60, and we're probably not going to see him be the Ethan Hunt of current ages after this Ethan Hunt movie. He'll probably be like Ethan Hunt in a wheelchair or something after these series of movies, and let somebody else finally take over. Or if it's not the end of Mission Impossible, which I feel like we're going to see the end of Mission Impossible.
It is. He said it. These are the last two movies. He's making 2 more movies and that's it. He's
Part
done.
1 and part 2.
Right. He's probably like, because I broke my leg jumping building the building and it didn't look fun, so I'm not going to do that again.
Maybe, but you got to remember, like, he used to do a balance, right? He used to do the think piece, the artsy, a little bit more dramatic fare, and then he would complement that with an action blockbuster set piece, da 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 da. And he, Troy's right. He hasn't been challenging himself in probably a decade. I mean, Jack Reacher was a thriller. That's probably the most outside the box he's been in a long time. And that's pretty much in his wheelhouse.
Right. But I'm going to go back to my previous theory, which is he reached a point where he was like, I am in the best physical shape I'm going to ever be. It is only downhill from here. Let me milk this for as much as I can for the next few years. And then I can go back to doing the things, because I don't have to. He doesn't have to prove himself by doing the think pieces. He doesn't have to prove himself by doing the art movies. He doesn't have to prove himself by doing the Born on the 4th of July stuff. He's already done all those things. So he can just kind of have fun and enjoy the ride for as long as he can until he has to do the Jack Nicholson route.
Or the Donald Sutherland route.
Or the Donald
I don't
Sutherland
think Tom
route.
Cruise is ever going to have to do the Donald Sutherland route. But I should mention, since we're talking about movie stars and people elevating, Vin Diesel, who I do not think is a movie star because he's not successful in anything outside of Fast X, Fast Furious series. But Alan Ritchson, you guys remember, was on our show. He was on our podcast a few months back when Reacher was coming out. And he's also, there's great YouTube. If you want to see it on YouTube, it's on YouTube as well. And if you're a Patreon supporter, you get a longer extended one if you go back there. So there you go. There's a little incentive. But Alan Ritchson, great guy. I had a wonderful conversation with him. I had private conversation with him. Wonderful guy. He's a genuine talent, and more importantly, a genuine guy who's been working very, very hard in Hollywood. And finally he's exploding, right? But he's going to be in Fast X. I literally, before we shot this, saw a video with Vin Diesel and him just kind of talking about the shoot and how Vin Diesel likes to do those videos on set or whatever. And Alan Ritchson, he also just got a 3-picture deal with Amazon recently. I'm just very, very happy for someone that seems, by every conversation I met with him a couple times, and he just is such a genuine guy. I'm just so happy to see people like that get rewarded. So I just want to mention, shout out to Alan Ritchson. Congratulations, man. And Reacher season 2 is coming next year. So even better.
I was going to say,
I'm
I
excited.
love Alan. I was just trying to figure out, how did Alan tie to Vin Diesel, tie to Tom Cruise, tie to movie star?
Vin Diesel, not a movie star, but kind of a movie star-ish. He's adjacent. Movie star adjacent. Is that a thing? Should
What
be.
sells the Fast and the Furious movies then? Is it the content of the Fast and Furious movies, or is it Vin Diesel?
But he's not selling tickets outside of that. Maybe on a global scale, but here in the U.S. he doesn't.
Well, Tom Cruise isn't selling
at
tickets
the same
outside
time,
of Mission Impossible or Top Gun currently.
Well, he hasn't made anything outside Mission Impossible or Top Gun in a while.
Neither is Vin Diesel. I'm just saying.
Oh my God. He did too. He did Triple X.
We should put it.
Go ahead.
We should put an asterisk at the end of this whole section by saying that we do realize that we are primarily talking from an American point of view, an American.
I'm looking at it
because
I'm looking at it globally. I'm looking at it globally. Global box office. Globally, Tom Cruise is a massive movie star. Globally.
I'm looking at it globally.
Okay.
I mentioned Michelle Yeoh.
Okay.
Yeah. John, we know you don't
I'm gonna
understand
finish my
globally
sentence.
because Michelle Yeoh is huge. But anyway, continue. Sorry. Finish your sentence.
I'm going to finish my sentence because I was in the middle of a thought, and before I lose it, damn
Crap,
it.
it's gone.
It worked, Troy. Good job. Internet 5. Shh. Do you have it
the
back
sound
yet?
that you hear is John has quit and left the building.
I think so.
It's gone.
Oh, that's what that echo was, huh? Sorry.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Well, we asked our Facebook group, our podcast topic question, do you feel that the era of the movie star is officially over? And we gave them 3 options. Number 1 option is not quite yet, but it's close. That was number 1 from listeners. Then, no, absolutely not. Was second with about, but not quite yet, but it's close. 1 with most of the votes. And then, yes, definitely very far in the back. So most people think it's either close or not at all. So I don't know. Feels like it's all over the place, right? I guess it just depends on your definition of a movie star. That's all I got. All right, so share your thoughts on this episode or anything else in our Facebook group. We're going to go on to Movie Innuendo in a second. We're on Twitter at BuyPopcorn. Our site is thehollywoodoutsiders.com. Rate and subscribe us on your preferred podcast app. Please do that. It helps the podcast. It takes you 10 seconds. It really helps us. Give us 5 stars. You don't have to write anything if you don't want to, but if you want to, just write, show is awesome. That's fine. You can find John's artwork on Insta and Twitter at rjohndraws. You can find Amanda wherever the hell she is right now. I don't know where she is, but she's also at Sink Into This. Troy at Troy Heinrichs and The Blacklist Exposed. And me, I'm presenting Hitchcock and at Aaron Smirks. Now, movie innuendo. We're going to do Tom Cruise movies. Now, if you've never listened to movie innuendo, it's awkward, it's uncomfortable, and you probably just turn off now. That's what I would recommend.
Which is John for most of the show.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Each of us get to pick 2 innocent lines from any Tom Cruise movie and deliver them as sexual innuendo. And at the end, we'll decide who did it better. So which order do you want to do it in? Who wants to go first?
John does.
Okay. John, better up.
He's warmed up. He's got his lucky dog.
I got my lucky dog with me. All right. So my first one. Do you want to know the movie too?
Yes, please say the movie and then do the line.
All right. Interview with a Vampire. Don't be afraid. I'm going to give you the choice I never had.
Okay. Sounds naughty. I like it. I'm a little eroticized. Troy, you or me?
I'll go.
Okay.
I believe this was Tropic Thunder. Hey, so whatever you're thinking, you better think again.
I feel like it's more of a threat. That's like a Bond villain.
There is a better line from him in Tropic Thunder.
Hey, you hold that until we're done.
It might be one of Aaron's.
Yeah, you don't know, so you don't want to ruin it.
I mean, you could say it because Aaron kept saying everything that we wanted to say tonight. It's totally fine.
Right. Or stepping over my lines or making me forget the hell my point was or something like that.
Shut up. Just shut up. All right, this is from Rain Man. Well, the rain is a lot like the shower. You get a little wet. What do you say, Ray? What do you say? Huh?
I was totally going to use that one.
Huh?
That's pretty good.
All right.
That's pretty good. All right. From Collateral.
Wow, we're really pulling now. Okay.
Don't get me cornered. You don't have the trunk space.
I was going to use that one too.
I like that one. All right, Troy.
All right, this is from The Last Samurai. I think a man does what he can until his destiny is revealed.
I like it.
That's not bad.
This is from Tropic Thunder. See, this is a good part, Pecker. This is when the job gets fun. Ask and you shall receive.
I have an honorable mention from Tropic Thunder.
Oh, so it's not show me the money?
No, it's not.
Show me the money. All right, go.
My honorable mention from Tropic Thunder. First, take a big step back and literally fuck your own face.
That's not sexual. It's literally presented the same way that it is in the movie.
Right.
So it's not really any different. That's not.
It's like saying the line from Magnolia, but you can't say it because Aaron would have to beep out the words.
I don't want to beep all
right.
So
I just really wanted an excuse to say that line because I found it and I was like, oh my God, I love that line.
And for those that don't remember the Magnolia line, it says, respect the sea, tame the other sea.
So nobody goes for, I feel the need for speed, huh? Probably because
it was too obvious.
A little too relevant for your sexual lives.
Yeah, I mean,
we're almost as old as Tom Cruise.
I'm even premature with myself. It's pretty sad.
Shit. It's time to buzz the tower. We're out of here. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Go see Top Gun Maverick. Remember, the next time you head to a theater.
Whoa.
What?
Also, watch Stranger Things and Obi-Wan Kenobi this weekend. Stay inside. Don't enjoy Memorial Day weekend.
Screw that. Go see Top Gun Maverick in theaters where, by God, what does Mark in our Facebook group say? As God intended.
Well, yes, definitely go see Top Gun, but also Stranger Things and Obi-Wan.
Man, I'll be honest. I'm not that excited.
You actually just got me really excited because my brother is going to be here for the weekend, for Memorial Day weekend, and my sister. So to be able to watch Stranger Things with my older brother and my baby sister over the weekend is something that makes me really happy.
Did you look at the run times for those?
I was just going to say, we're talking about TikTok, 6-second videos. Like, they do not understand that at Netflix. This is why they're losing to ByteDance.
The last episode of Stranger Things season 4, which is
over 2 hours.
9. It's 2 hours and 30 minutes. That's 2. Just make it 2 episodes. Why does it got to be a movie? And a long movie at that.
And it also doesn't come out till July.
You guys don't get the point of my joy in this. So I'm just gonna
hey, family is cool, and I think everybody should hang out with their family. This show is done. Why are we still talking? Go buy some popcorn and go see Top Gun Maverick and then Stranger Things and Obi-Wan and all that stuff. All right, have a good one. Take care.
Bye.
Bye. Pie? Seagull?